Good evening. This is a special meeting of the Board of Education. It is Thursday, March 23rd. It is 6:30, and we are in the North Boardroom. So we are in order at 6:30. Ms. Van Twyver, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Oden.
Here.
Dr. Murataki.
Here.
Ms. Van Twyver's here. Ms. Tomasetti. Mr. Hallowell.
Here.
Mr. Mosier. Mrs. Ziem.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Ms. Hohensie.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mr. Farrington.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. We have one purpose for being here tonight. Mrs. Oden.
I'd like to move to elect Dr. Jamal Mosley as Superintendent of Schools effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2021 at a starting salary of $158,750.
Is there a second? I'm sorry. Second. Mrs. Hohensie? Okay, you got that? Mrs. Hohensie, the second?
Yep, I do now.
Okay. So what I thought we'd do, we can go around the room and everybody can have their opportunity to make a comment, and then we'll have a roll call vote, and we'll be done. And Mrs. Oden?
Yeah, first I would like to say Dr. Mosley is sorry that he couldn't be here tonight, but we had to change the date of the meeting, and he had another commitment that he couldn't break. First, I want to thank all of the Nashua residents and the many school district employees and students who participated in the interview process, as well as the meet and greet for the candidates. I would like to say thank you to all of the stakeholders who took the time and effort to share their feedback with the ad hoc committee. We were fortunate to have two strong candidates. I considered the input from the community and district stakeholders, as well as the comments that were gathered from the site visits to each of the candidates' districts when making my decision. I believe Dr. Jamal Mosley is the right candidate to lead our district with a collaborative and inclusive decision-making philosophy. He has a vast and varied educational background that I feel will serve our district well under his leadership. I would like to thank our interim superintendent, Dr. Cornelia Brown, for coming into a very difficult situation and doing an excellent job of keeping our district on track without upheaval. I am pleased to cast my vote for Dr. Jamal Mosley as our next superintendent of schools.
This was one of the most difficult votes I have had to make during my tenure on the board. Both of these candidates were exemplary. We owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Brown for her willingness to step in at a time when the entire leadership team was new. This lack of continuity made it difficult to have the history of our district with which to make decisions, yet she consistently made difficult decisions and guided the board in the best interests of the district. However, I was always concerned that we would lose Dr. Brown when something became available closer to her family. I will always feel indebted to Dr. Brown for her support during this difficult year, and I wish her the very best in her future endeavors. Although both Dr. Mosley as well as Dr. Brown are gifted candidates, I will be voting for Dr. Mosley. It is my hope that him and his family will find a home here in Nashua that will provide him a place to fulfill his lifelong goal of strengthening the youth of our community, and through them, our city, our state, and our nation. He impressed me as a collaborative leader who will strengthen our district from the bottom up. It is my hope that our community will embrace both him and his family, providing them with the support that will not only make them feel welcomed, but so much a part of Nashua's fabric that they will grow old with us right here in Nashua. Thank you.
Mrs. Hohensie.
Thank you. I would like to thank Mrs. Oden for all her work. She worked very hard to make this an open and transparent process, and I think she did a great job. I will be voting for Dr. Mosley. I believe he's a very collaborative candidate. He will work to build a consensus with the board and our staff. He is investing in Nashua by moving here with his family, and the feedback from the staff during the process was enormously positive. So I'm very encouraged and happy to support Dr. Mosley as Nashua's superintendent.
Mr. Owens?
Mr. Hohensie?
Mr. Kaufman, I too would like to thank Mrs. Oden
for really leading this effort. It's taken a lot of effort, and Mrs. Oden ensured it was as fair and as complete as it needed to be. As well, the participants, the community that participated in our in our interviews. At one time, we had, I think, 15 community people there, and they all really participated and gave us the community feedback we were looking for. I, too, would like to thank Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown came to us as an interim and has performed well for us. As far as tonight's meeting, I will be voting in support of Dr. Mosley as our next superintendent, and I'd like to cite just a couple of brief reasons. Extensive, large urban school district experience. I think we desperately need that. Personal and professional commitment to conduct a collaborative, bottom-up strategic planning process. And here's the neat part. The planning process will be used to establish focused goals and budgetary decisions. The overwhelmingly positive feedback we received from the site visit, as well as the community and board interviews, and that feedback demonstrated to me educational vision and leadership. My final comment is that I really just hope that my fellow board members will join me in making this unanimous vote for Dr. Mosley. Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre, would you like to jump in here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Brown. I think she's exceeded expectations coming in here. I really like what she's doing with full day kindergarten, and I'm sad to see her go, but I think that we have a bright future ahead of us. Thanks.
Okay. Dr. Murataki?
Yes, excuse me. Thank you very much. I think a lot of it's already been said. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Oden for, I think, an outstanding job in leading the ad hoc search committee. I'd also like to thank Superintendent Brown. She was not only brought in to serve as our interim superintendent, but essentially to honcho the staff side of a search for a permanent superintendent, both as an interim superintendent and as a coordinator for the search. I think in both instances she did an outstanding job. I'm really going to be sorry to see her go. Originally, I thought that it would be difficult to essentially overmatch her 1 year worth of painfully obtained experience with this Nashua school district. So it really came as a surprise to me that Dr. Jamal Mosley essentially did as well as he did. I was particularly impressed by the overwhelming support that he had in the feedback from staff and the public. And I won't go into the statistics of it now, but really that kind of statistical overwhelming numbers are kind of hard to explain away, other than the people here really liked him. So there are a number of reasons why both of these candidates are exceptional, but I will be casting my vote for Dr. Jamal Mosley tonight.
Caldwell.
I'm going to speak tonight about the candidate we're not going to hire rather than the one we are. And while Dr. Brown's only been here a short time, I think her experience as a superintendent, her experience as part of the Maine School Board Association was extremely valuable to this district over this past year. From her first interview for interim position, when she provided details of the Nashua School District during answers to her questions, I knew that this was someone who was going to dig down and get to the bottom of problems. She also started with a newly hired team of assistant superintendents, Mr. Boucher and Mr. Fredrickson, both of whom, by the way, have also exceeded expectations as they took on their new roles. She started out working on labor negotiations because we had a teacher's contract that was open. That got settled a few months after she was here. And I think her experience in labor negotiations and in contract and understanding contracts made a difference there. One of the things we saw her put in the budget this year was to essentially add money to the salary line to address a problem that we knew was occurring, which is a dip in the scale for teachers who have been here between 5 and 8 years. Without that fix, we'll continue to lose teachers at a higher rate in that time frame. So teachers that we spent 5 years training will leave this district because they can go somewhere else and make $10,000 more a year for several years. That was something she was trying to address. I'm also concerned that when we make this vote, that there's not an understanding of what the cascading impacts are going to be here, and there will be cascading impacts. The two aforementioned assistant superintendents, I don't believe will put their names in to continue to be assistant superintendents. And so in the last 18 months, we'll have had 9 people in the top 3 positions in this school district. I think that's something to be definitely concerned about. And my last point for Dr. Brown, any parent next year who is taking their kid to full-day kindergarten can thank Dr. Brown if you're in a non-Title I school. Because I can tell you that no one on this board thought that in the budget process where the mayor had started out by telling us a 0% increase, that there'd be any way to put that in the budget. And Dr. Brown, because she's done it before, knew how she could do that with decreasing enrollments in the school district and available space in the schools. So when you're bringing your kid next year to kindergarten, you can thank Dr. Brown, who will not be here. So I won't be casting my vote for Dr. Mosley. I wish him well. I will work hard to make sure that he is successful because that's my role here on the board. But I believe we are making the wrong decision. Thank you.
Ms. Van Twyver.
Well, Mr. Hallowell has enumerated all the things that I like about Dr. Brown and why I'm going to be voting for her. I have been so impressed with a person who can come into a district of this size and to be able to grasp all the things that we have thrown upon her as quickly. She is very professional, and she works very well with our group and our district. And I know that there are many people who are going to be very sad that she will not be around next year to lead them for another year. I had wished that other members of this board could see the worth that she has done this year for us and would vote for her. But that's unfortunate that they are not. And I hope that we don't regret this vote. I will also work with Dr. Mosley and do everything I can to help him get adjusted to us. And I wish him very well. That's it.
Okay. As for me, I have absolutely no criticism whatsoever of Dr. Mosley's professional background. Been through the interviews, went to his school district for the site visit. I drove him around our district one afternoon for his site visit, and we had, because of confusion in the schedule, we had about 45 minutes or so to talk one-on-one about a variety of things, both educational and about our personal backgrounds. I found him to be a very pleasant man with some very good ideas about education and the associated challenges. And simply put, I guess I liked him. My only issue, but it is a big one for me, is the fact that he has never been a superintendent. In my 12 years on this board, I have learned a number of things about being a superintendent. The first and foremost I have learned that I don't ever want that job, primarily because of everything else I've learned about it. In the ideal world, everyone is only focused on how to help students reach their full potential. Superintendents spend half of every day visiting schools, talking education with teachers, and working with children in the classroom. In the real superintendent's world, you respond to parents who want to know why you did or didn't cancel school for snow, why you can't change the date for graduation because another day would work better for them, a board member requesting some obscure piece of information on a topic they've been thinking about, a student issue that requires a consideration of an expulsion. Putting together a budget that doesn't exceed the cap, adds new programs, doesn't cause anyone to lose their job, and doesn't upset anyone. A grievance has been filed by someone in one of our 6 unions. Preparation for and participation in negotiations and so on. Dr. Brown currently has a book on her desk. It's called Horton Lays an Egg by Dr. Seuss. And she was telling me how anxious she was. She was going into one of our classrooms to read to the students, and how anxious she was to share this book with the students because it was a favorite book of her daughter's. It's been laying there for quite a while because, among other things, she received an extensive request from the Telegraph for all the emails between her and the board for Sunshine Week. There are lots of distractions that keep superintendents from the educational things. My whole point in this is where the buck stops, in that corner office. You can be sort of prepared for some of it, but a lot of it requires experience. We don't often think in these terms, but as near as I can tell, there are about 1,000 school districts in New England, ranging from over 53,000 students in Boston to a number of students in these outlying communities with just a few hundred students. As best I can determine, Nashua is in the top 20 in terms of size in those 1,000 districts. If I have a good alternative, I don't hire anyone with no experience as a superintendent to run a top 20 district, especially ours. If I don't have a choice, I certainly don't start them at the 3rd highest superintendent salary in the state. Last spring, we found ourselves in a difficult situation with all 3 of our top education folks leaving. Like everyone else, I was very concerned about how we could get by. But then we got real lucky. We got Dr. Brown and her 2 assistants, and we did much more than get by. Dr. Brown is a very bright, creative thinker and a very quick study. It didn't take long for her to start asking me detailed questions that I didn't have the slightest answer for, the things that she had picked up in the district. She has a delightful sense of humor and takes a sincere interest in the people of the district. She brings 20 years of superintendent experience and a different point of view based on that experience. She could have easily come here and kept the seat warm, but that isn't in her nature. She's an educational leader and has made a terrific difference in the operation of the district in just 1 year. As president, I've had the opportunity to watch her deal in a variety of issues in a very professional manner with a lot of different and difficult issues. In my opinion, this district and this board needs a strong, experienced superintendent, and I believe Dr. Brown is that person. So I will not be voting in support of this motion tonight. However, as Mr. Hollowell and Ms. Van Twyver have indicated, above all, my responsibility is to the students and the people of this city and the district, and I will do everything that I can to make Dr. Mosley's experience here a successful one. Having said all that, roll call, please.
Mrs. Oden?
Dr. Mosley.
Well, actually, we're voting for.
Yes.
The
It's
motion is
just
a yes or
The
no?
motion is to approve the.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Murataki?
Yes.
Ms. Van Twyver votes no. Mr. Hallowell?
No.
Mr. Mosier's absent. Mrs. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Hohensie?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Farrington?
No.
5-3.
Motion passes on a
Passes.
5-3 vote. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, Mr. Mosier has been dealing with some health issues and was unable to attend this evening, and I don't want anybody to think that he just neglected to come here. I've tried to contact him a couple times today and wasn't able to do that, so I'll have to follow up and see just how well he's doing. So, having done that,
To adjourn.
move to adjourn by Mr.
Second.
Hollowell, seconded by Dr. Murataki. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. We're adjourned at 6:51.